Michael Huff here with. This is a great honor, great privilege because obviously I'm a fellow DB, so you're coaching my DB. So we got Clay Jennings, DB coach here, and my first is a little off topic, but how does a D lineman end up being a DB coach?
Man, you blowing all my covers today.
I did my research. I had to.
Well, I tell you what, Matt Simon, who was my college head coach, I needed one semester to be paid for, and he told me that, hey, I'll do it, and exchange at UGA for him. I said, okay. So I grabbed my backpack. I'm getting ready to walk out the door. He said, where you going? I said, I'm going to the D-line room with Coach Russ. He said, you're going to learn something different. I said, what's that? He said, you're going to coach DBs. I dropped my bag. I said, Coach, I don't know nothing about DBs. He said, that's exactly why you're going to learn something. And, the biggest thing for him was, you know what, so you can learn defense, learn it from the back to the front.
Okay.
And I'll never forget for him the guy that I GA'd for, a guy by the name of Fred Blau. I worked with Coach Blau in 1996 and 1997. He taught me so much football, that it was a great experience because, not only did he teach me the X and O's, but also the people skills as far as dealing with DBs as well too, because, sometimes, you guys,
we got some egos.
Yeah, y'all got some egos, but the greatest thing is, if you learn how to challenge them as a man, and you talk with them and teach them instead of talking at them at all times, then they have a little bit more respect for you.
Yeah, so what, obviously you were in Arkansas this past year. So what was it about Texas? What was it about, when you got that phone call from Charlie Strong that brought you, made you want to come to Texas?
An opportunity to come home, originally being from Waco, Texas. And then also, from the outside looking in, seeing what Coach Strong and the guys that he had on staff, what they were building, and I wanted to be a part of that. And after having an opportunity to come down here and interview with Coach Strong, it just seemed like a perfect fit. I enjoyed myself while I was in Fayetteville, but, sometimes, it's time to move on.
Okay. So obviously, I guess growing up, when I first got to Texas, I said I had like the Quentin Jammers, Nathan Vasher, those guys here. But when I first got here, I started looking at the past, like the Johnny Johnsons and the Westbrooks and the Jay Grays and Vance. So I was wondering, how important do you think it is for the young DBs now to know the legacy and the pride and tradition of the DBs that came before them?
Mike, I think the biggest thing that I tried to address with those guys in the meeting room the very first time, I said, y'all need to look at that wall. And I said, when you look at that wall, you have to make sure that when you come to work every day, you're working to extend that tradition. You're working to, and it's not just the draft picks and the glamour of Mike and Earl and Kenny, but it's the work ethic of those guys as well too. When those guys had an opportunity to see you, standing at practice in the spring, that brought chills on my spine because when guys want to come back and give back and take pride in carrying on the tradition of DBU, it's unbelievable. So the one thing that we do, we talked about not only just having talent, but also having the work ethic, and the grit. And the intestinal fortitude to be able to carry that tradition, because they're going to walk out every week with a target. You know what? And if we're going to proclaim to be that, then we're going to have to work to be that.
And obviously, you watched film from last year on the DBs, and so you got to work with them this off season, this summer. So what's really the main thing you see going into camp as far as the next step? Obviously, they put pads on finally. Like I said, you haven't seen them in pads yet besides on film. So what's really the next big step you want to see as far as going into camp and things you want to get out of camp?
Well, the biggest thing is I thought they were better in practice 15 than they were in practice 1 in the spring. Going into fall camp, once we put the pads on, we got to become a better tackling secondary. In space, as they can be just as tough.
12,
in the Big 12 with the ball flying all around, and then also being able to make tackles in the run game as well too. And we've got to know our fits. We have to know where our help is. And then we also have to, you know what, we got to do a better job as far as being patient, you know, at the snap of the ball, get keys, you know, and be able to gather information once that ball turns over. I think, you know, we can work on those three things, and I know that that's not really something physically that you talked about, but I mean, it does actually encompass everything that we're trying to get: body position and being able to finish.
And obviously, DBs. My last question. I get a little off topic, but you know, obviously, DBs and receivers always, you know, have that competition. You know,
Yes.
always go at it.
Yes.
So if, let's say, fourth and goal. No, let's say first and goal from the 3-yard line. If you had to go out and cover Charlie Williams 4 times, would he score at all?
No, not at all.
I'm gonna ask him the same question.
I know you are, but not at all.
So he wouldn't score at all.
No, he wouldn't score at all. Now, well, I tell you what, I give him 25%.
So you're gonna give him one?
Yeah, I give him one. You know, but you know, my pride would get in the way of that other 75%.
Because even though you play D-line, you still got a mentality.
Oh, no doubt.
Of a D-line.
Hey, don't let this big body fool you. I got some feet.
Thanks for being on, Coach.
No doubt, man.
Always, I'll be in practice probably pretty much every other day, talking to young guys.
Well, I appreciate you having me, man.
DBU legacy, you know, try to keep it going.
No doubt, man. Hey, we're going to try to continue on the tradition.
Thank you. Thanks
Appreciate you. No doubt.